It's SmallBizDavid, and we are going to conclude today our very first module, to do or not to do should you start a business. And when I put these modules together, there's 9 of them, and we're concluding number 1 today. We started Monday this week. We started doing them. I created a list of about 200 small business keywords that are related to starting a business, and then I put them into the appropriate module. So it's a real, we got a really good project here. And as a side comment, rather than taking my time to write a book and dealing with each one of these 200 small business keywords about starting a business, there's no question in my mind a better, more efficient way is to do our YouTubes and create a library of information at youtube.com/smallbizdavid. So let's get into time management. Boy, I have to think that time management is at the very top of the list because, well, we all have the same 24 hours a day to do whatever it is that we do in those 24 hours. We're all on an equal playing field. It's what we do in those 24 hours that make a difference. I had a friend of mine yesterday, 2 days ago. She owns a restaurant, and I went in to do a carry-out with her, and she said, "I'll bet you're working really long hours." And my response to Donna was, "No, it's not really how many long hours I work. It's the hours that I do work. How much can I get done? How productive can I be in those hours? I don't want to work long hours. I've done that. I want to work smart hours and be as productive as I can in the hours that I'm focusing on building the community, creating our YouTubes, whatever it is. I want to be effective in those hours. And it's because of my abilities to manage my time and focus on the priorities of the moment. And so, as I said, I don't want to work long hours. I want to work smart hours. Goals and objectives. I can't say enough about goals and objectives, and if you follow me, you know that I use those words many, many times, because you must set goals and you must have objectives. If you don't, nothing's going to happen. It becomes craziness and a mishmash of your time. Your time management doesn't exist if you don't have goals and objectives. And you need to prioritize those goals in A, B, C, D fashion. Focus on A, whatever you determine to be that important to you. Get the job done and don't move on to B until you have finished A. So that's sensible goal setting as well as time management. As far as goal setting goes, I thought I had it right close to me. Oh, here it is. Brian Tracy, one of my mentors, very clearly says that to be successful, you have to have goals. And he does a great job of describing goals and how to do it. And he also has a workbook. Oh, here it is. A workbook that I keep close at hand, the Goal Planner. Google BrianTracy.com. Google, once you get into his network, his community, search for Goal Planner. This book, this workbook, it's also a workbook. If you follow this workbook, you will be successful in your business endeavors. But you have to fill out. There's a lot of thinking that needs. There's 15 to 20 minutes of thinking that you need to do every day. But if you set it out in the logical fashion that Brian has presented, you will be successful. I love this goal planner, and along with his book on goals, you have to do it. I'm going to put that right there. It needs to be right there. The goal planner. And then when you write them, and it's important that you write them down also. You need to write them down because if you don't, they're not going to happen. And you write them down because A, when you write something down, you take the time to think about it. And then B, you can go back to it and see that you've done what you need to do. Now, you might have a goal, an objective, and you might give it a lot of energy to do it, and you might not fulfill it, and that's okay. That's okay, because you have a goal and objective, but you don't know necessarily how realistic it is until you do it, till you start it, till you attempt to achieve it. And in doing so, you may find that goal is a little bit off and it needs to be changed in one manner or another. And that's okay too. Your goals and objectives, just like your business plan that we talked about yesterday, they need to be dynamic enough that if you need to change them, you change them. When you have a goal and it either works or it doesn't work. If it works, you move on. If it doesn't work, you ask yourself the question, why is it not working? And either change it so that it can work and you can achieve it, or delete it and put something in its place. And write it down. Responsibility. Yes. When you start a business, there has to be a sense of responsibility. Responsibility to yourself and responsibility to those individuals whose lives are being touched with that business that you have started. It might be your family and friends. Well, for sure it's going to be your family, wherever it is that you live and the people that you live with. There's a responsibility factor there. And you have to be responsible to yourself and accountable to yourself. Responsibility is a very, very important characteristic that an entrepreneur must have when wanting to start a business. I've had some real negative dealings with a friend very recently. And as I evaluate the situation and why it happened, why it got to where it did, I was irresponsible in setting up the business agreement in the beginning. I was irresponsible because I didn't do all the things that I should have done in retrospect, no question about that. But the individual who is not achieving the goals and objectives doesn't want to hold themselves accountable, doesn't want to be responsible, doesn't emote a sense of responsibility in meeting a business obligation. Responsibility, very important. Problem solving. Oh my goodness. An entrepreneur has to have great problem solving skills because we're dealing with problem. I don't necessarily like to use the word problem. Problem is a really negative word. I like to use the word challenge. We are constantly being challenged. We're being challenged with our business idea, or we're being challenged with our ability to communicate that business idea to the marketplace. We're challenged with the outcomes. But along the way, you must possess strong problem-solving characteristics. Problems really are challenges. They're challenges. There's ways to meet those challenges. Responsibility, you have to be responsible. And time management certainly works into that concept of problem solving. Okay, last one in this particular segment. Value proposition. You have to have a value proposition, and your value proposition has to differentiate. People are not going to want to do business with you unless there is a value proposition. And there isn't one single value proposition. Your value proposition is what you are all about. Definitely reflective on you and your abilities to bring value into somebody's life or value into somebody's business. They're not going to do business with you. They're not going to invest in you. They're not going to buy from you unless there is a strong feeling of what your value proposition is. And in fact, there can be some type of return on investment of resources. That's the value proposition. What do you do? What do you do well? You know what? And they say your value proposition has to be measured against the competition. Yesterday, I made the comment that forget about the competition unless you're pushed to define the competition and respond to whatever question it is about the competition. They do what they are doing. You do, and you focus on what is best for you. They don't care about you. You should not really care about them. Too much time and energy is focused on the competition. Now, having said that, competition is important when in a small business situation. Let's take a store owner. A downtown store owner, a neighborhood strip center, a mall, wherever there might be a store. First of all, the first level of competition as a group, as a community, is getting folks to come to wherever it is that the merchants are, the retailers are. There's a real sense of competition there. Why would somebody want to come to your area, your community, as opposed to somebody else's? Value proposition? There's more value if they come to your area? Certainly. Okay, so that's level number one. But once the consumer comes into your community, your retail community, then you're kind of competing with the other stores, other store fronts in that particular area. Particularly if there's multiple ones, the same kind of stores. But if they're different, if they're spending time in the store next to you, they're not spending time with you. What does it take to get them to spend time with you? Value? Sure. Return on investment? Sure. Those are very important things. So this whole concept of value proposition, you have to understand it. You have to be able to articulate it, and you have to be able to demonstrate it. To do or not to do. Should you start a business? These are 5 things that you need to think about as you're starting your business.